the rest of the group to come back. See, that's one of the things that you cannot have with an online meeting. Usually, if this would have been a face-to-face meeting, we would have had an opportunity to mingle a little bit over lunch and to have a little chat. But yeah, unfortunately, that is one of the things that you cannot get in an online meeting. So,
yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm all about sustainability, like Alessandro was saying. So, but
Yeah.
you need that human component sometimes.
Salvo, just to make a point, Raffaella wrote in the chat that it would be very useful to have 2 minutes of brainstorming in order to detect few keywords about our project.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Do you want me
Very
to?
important for the logo, for the logo definition, because we in this case as Martin will cover this task. But it's important to have some input, some triggers from the partners in order to have a common understanding of which our designer will create, and we will propose some different proposal of logo, and you will be able to vote your preference, which is your preferred, and we will have our logo. I think in 20 days we will have the logo.
So we will have to co-produce, co-design a logo for the
Yeah, in a certain way, yeah, to have a little brainstorming, to have some inputs from you, which is your feeling, what you prefer, for example, which colors, which definition, I don't know. We're gonna have 5 minutes of brainstorming about it, but it's something additional, is an appendix, if you prefer.
It sounds like a good idea. I was thinking if Google Meet enables us to do that, there is the whiteboarding
Wow.
option that we could use. We will give it a go. It seems like a shareable tool that we can all use and design something with it. So yeah, we'll give it a try. See how it
Yeah. If it doesn't, we can also, I can set up like a word cloud so everyone can put in words.
That's a good
Great.
idea as well. Yes. So shall we carry on with the afternoon session? So I do have some slides just to introduce very quickly the afternoon session. Do let me know if you can see them.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'll try to also put them on, where is it? On full screen. Let me know if you can see the second slide.
With the second slide, but not in full screen.
Okay. Forget about the full screen. Google Meet is not very happy with that, apparently. So anyway, right. So just a very quick overview of the project. I don't want to bore you again with with everything that we all know that we're going to be doing with this project. And Pier Paolo this morning gave a very nice introduction to this. But just to remind ourselves for the afternoon session, we know that the Tuned project breaks down in pretty much 3 phases. The first one is about the methodology of the project, and it's more of a theoretical phase, and it's about developing the pedagogical framework and to design those tools and those practices that we need for the next phases to help the academic staff, and particularly the teaching staff at higher education level, to use the blended courses and to manage the teaching online. This first phase should inform the second phase, which is more of the implementation of the 2 main platforms that we're going to be using, or that we will derive from this project, which is the MOOC and the Serious Game. And then we have phase 3, which is about evaluating what we have done and then disseminating the results. So our partnership will work on creating some guidelines in order for this project not to just be confined in itself, but to be spread around and to be potentially used by other partners, by other universities, both at the European level and potentially at the global level as well. So that is the ultimate aim, really. So today we have three main tasks to talk about in terms of what kind of steps we want to take for the next 6 months for the implementation of the project. And they are pretty much related to the to phase one, to the methodological building. So that's where the project starts. So we have task T1.1. You can also see it in the last slide. I will get to that in a few minutes on the Gantt chart. So it's this one, design guidelines about the self-regulation learning and motivation in higher blended education. This task is mainly for our Finnish partner, the University of Oulu. And from what I could understand from the project guidelines, the University of Oulu will be working on designing some preliminary guidelines, which will include teaching practices, what are the applications of self-regulation learning, the application of cooperative learning in distance teaching, and also the applications of the gamification aspects. So these things, obviously, as I mentioned before, will be used to inform the MOOCs that we will design and also the serious game. So we will give the chance to our Finnish partners to talk us through the task and the things that they're going to be doing to implement it in the next 3 months, according to the Gantt chart. But we can have a discussion about that, because there is also an issue around the timeline and how we want to catch up with a bit of the time that we have lost in order to deliver the project in time. Then we have task 2, which is about the definition of cooperative learning strategies for the open, blended, and distance courses. And this should be led by the University of Foggia. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember well, it should be between 3-4 months. Yes. So this task is the core of the methodology so it should support the development of the pedagogical framework. And the University of Foggia will lead the outlines of trajectories for the teacher's practice and the cooperative learning. So in addition, the strategies will address the distance courses, the blended courses. So it would be very much useful to inform the work that the University of Oulu will also be doing. So to that, the University of Foggia will help to define the cooperative learning strategies. So we will give another about, I think, 20 minutes to the University of Foggia to explore with us, with the whole group, what are the steps to take to implement this task. And then we have a third task here, which, according to the Gantt chart again that we can see, this should be led by EADTU, and again, there should be 4 months allocated to this task. And this task is about the definition of co-creation procedures for the OERs and the reapplication. So with this task, we should think about what kind of co-creation procedures we should put in practice. It should support really the application of different scientific areas of teaching. In this task specifically, we should involve the teaching staff. at the higher education level. And we should capitalize on the experience and expertise because this task, it's very important to inform the MOOC and the serious game, which is related to the MOOC. So that will form the approach that would inform really the inclusion of the open access courses. So these three tasks are the main three that we're going to be talking about today. And as for the agenda, we have about, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 minutes each per each task. So we will start off with the with task T1 dot 1, which is led by the University of Oulu, and we were thinking that. First of all, let me ask to the partners that have you got a presentation for the afternoon session as well, or are you happy to have just an open discussion about how you're going to be implementing your tasks? So, for example, our Finnish partners, Azusa, are you going to be leading this discussion? Have you got a presentation?
From our side, no. I prefer have it like open discussion.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And the University of Foggia, who is going to lead this discussion? Is it going to be you, Raffaele?
Yeah, and we can have an open discussion about this.
That's perfect. And then we have, I believe, Alessandra, that is going to lead the conversation.
Yeah, honestly, I'm learning now that would have been up to us, because in the agenda, in the version I got was no definition of who would have talked, and honestly, I prepared my presentation, but I probably read that, so I would not know what to say. So I'm very happy if somebody already has idea, because it's a task that is a bit yeah, I didn't expect this on us, but we can see what is expected, maybe not only from the partner, but from who wrote the proposal, what was that.
That's absolutely fine, Alessandra. And don't worry about that, because these tasks are kind of led by a specific organization, but really these are tasks for the whole group. It's an open discussion for the group to find out what are the things that we can put in place for these tasks to be accomplished. So yeah, during the third one, you can lead with your expertise and knowledge on that, but the whole group will contribute to that. And that gives me the opportunity. I will share very quickly. Or Saika, would you like to share the file that I sent you?
Yeah, I'll share it.
In order to help with today's discussions, we have prepared a table which Saika will share with you.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I can't see you, but I can hear everything.
Oh, perfect. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the theory of change, and if you have used in the past with other projects, we usually find it quite helpful to lead these kind of discussions. And it's very simple, but it's quite an effective tool that helps to navigate some of the tasks that the partners might need to accomplish. And it's basically about breaking down the main outcome that you expect from your task into three outcomes, which is one is the short-term one. So what initially you would expect when you start working on this task, and then the medium one, midway, where would you like to get to, and then the long-term outcomes will be about what you expect at the end when you see the results of accomplishing your task. To achieve these tasks, these outcomes, you would have a discussion about what kind of resources you think you can put in place, or what kind of support you might need, not just from your own organization, but it could also be from other partners if they can put in place anything that can help you to achieve your tasks. And also we can have a discussion around the challenges that you might expect to face. It doesn't need to be massive challenges. It could be even small little things, but sometimes it's good to share them with the whole group, and the group might have ideas on how to support you and your organization to overcome those challenges, or they might have resources that they can give you and support to help you with those challenges. And in general, if we have any notes, anything that we want to add, any comments, we can put that in a separate column. So are you happy to use this kind of tool today to just inform this kind of discussion? Oh yeah, we have a comment from Alessandro. You say sure, right? Okay, perfect. We don't need really, but normally another thing that we can't do online, if we were meeting face to face, we would all have the chance to write onto a flip chart, but unfortunately we don't have this option today. So Saika will be kind of working in the background, filling out the table with all the contributions that she can gather. We can also use Padlet, yes. We didn't think of that, yes, but I do have an account on Padlet. Perhaps if we have time after the first discussion, we can set it up and maybe share the link. But in the meantime, if you have things that you want to add to the table, or you want to tell Saika, you can either use the chat or you can do it orally. So let's start with the first discussion, which relates to task T1.1 and its design guidelines about the self-regulation learning and motivation in higher blended education. So Azusa, would you like to share with the group your idea on your first task?
Yes, but first of all, I think I should mention that to be honest, we are sorry that we had a kind of personnel change internally.
Okay.
Then also like the person who was supposed to be a core person in this project got a sick leave, and then today I and Eshi are presenting, and I am going to join this project as a main person from University of Oulu. But to be honest, like we are now, or I am now catching up with the details of the project. So the funding application, I have been leading that. So let me say, first of all, so sorry that we haven't really prepared kind of concrete proposal, but we would like to use this opportunity to clarify things and fine tune with the
Yeah, I see that.
task.
And that
Is it okay?
yeah, I was aware that one of your main partners at your university is unfortunately on sick leave.
Yeah, so I'd like to suggest like in this discussion opportunity, I'd like to get to know more, and then within June we'd write more concrete plan for the next 6 months. Does it work like this?
Yes. Do you believe that because you have about 3 months for this task, do you think that you will have enough time to complete it in the next 3 months, or do you think that these problems that you told us today will delay the deliverance of this?
I think if it is okay, maybe we'd need more time to
Okay.
complete this. But yeah, before that, I'd like to clarify the task itself, because I was a little bit confused with the things written in the proposal, but and also now the things written in this slide. So my initial understanding of this task or result one is to kind of build pedagogical framework on self-regulated learning and motivation for distance and blended education. But it says design guidelines, so I was wondering what exactly is expected for.
Well, my understanding was that you would draw on your knowledge of self-regulation learning to eventually write a handbook that will be used not just for the tuned project, but will also be disseminated. And the handbook should contain this theoretical framework on what self-regulation learning is, and what kind of things what kind of guidelines you can provide for a successful self-regulation learning. Am I correct, Raffaele, to have I
Yeah.
understood well?
Yeah, but in our first idea, when we wrote the first draft, the idea was that that this represent the theoretical framework, the base of our project under a methodological point of view. So would be great to design guidelines for teachers, educators, teacher to for the teacher education, in order to face the blended education, the new blended education after the COVID-19 pandemic, how to manage the self-regulation learning, how to motivate the students, which are the main framework we have behind. Also, from your experience, for this reason, we placed your group as the leader because was have a huge impact in self-regulation learning and SSRL. However, with the support of all the partners, in order to create this guideline. For example, University of Foggia will give feedback and support regarding open blended and distance courses. IATU will apply about the replication in distance learning. Cyprus University of Technology will define the co-creation of MOOC modules. So each partner will contribute to depict a global framework of the project, where to place the first stone, where to pose the MOOC, the series game. This is the initial idea that would be discussed together.
Rafaela, just to clarify, this kind of support that all the partners can provide for the creation of the guidelines, will it be something that will start straight away? So can we put it under the short-term outcomes, or is it some support that we will provide later on, like after a month or two?
In my opinion, one first aim that came from this brainstorming we are doing is an initial index of the final document, and in this index we can put in hypothesis that some partner can contribute. A chapter will be done by University of Foggia, one chapter is done by, and so on, in order to have a best picture of the system. So as you are writing the short term, you and both of you, the initial task would be to create a sort of index of the document. Perhaps is something that at the end would be totally changed, but can be a very useful document in order to start the discussion and to see which competences would be inside this model. When we wrote, we used to have some relationship with all of you and we know your profile, but perhaps you can better than us identify which are the areas where to give your input. Great.
Can I ask you a favor? Could you write in the chat some of these things so we can use them to fill out the table?
Yeah.
For example, when you were talking about the support that the partners provide, if you can just give us a list, and in the meantime, the other partners as well, if you think that there is a specific thing that you can do. For example, Raffaele was saying that, for example, each partner can write a chapter for the handbook on what kind of things you could contribute to for that chapter. In the meantime, we'll try and fill out a few other things on the table, like the long-term outcome cycle. If you can write down it's going to be the creation of the handbook, if I understood well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't see the chat, so you have to keep telling me, Salvo, if there's anything to add in.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, and in the meantime, Azusa, you were saying that some of the challenges that you are facing at the moment is that one of the main members of staff is on sick leave, and then you having some restructuring at the university, something like changes.
Yes. So you may notice like some of members were initially joining these teams, but like
Yeah.
just recently I and SU were added to this project. So this kind of things was done, but from now on I am the person who is in this team. So no more changes.
Okay, so we won't put change. We just put new personnel. So you need time to kind of.
Yeah, I think that was fine. Changes in personnel because that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened, really.
Yes, so I am a new person. So that's why I'm trying to catch up. Yes, but thank you so much. So as far as I understood, this task one is to produce guidelines or handbook for teachers and educators. And the content is based on the self-regulated learning in distance and blended learning context. Is it correct?
Yes, and about the long-term outcome, I have a comment from Eleni. Do you prefer Eleni or Elena?
It's both, either one. Either one.
So probably I will call you sometimes Eleni, sometimes Elena.
Sometimes I sign as Eleni, sometimes as Elena, so that's fine.
Yeah, thanks for your comment because I think it's quite useful. We need to specify, affirm the target audience for this handbook. So perhaps we can have a bit of a brainstorming on that. I think, Raffaele, you did mention a little bit that the main target would be possibly the academic staff.
Yeah, can I share for a moment the screen? Because, sorry, Salvo, yesterday you asked me the annexes I forgot to send you. One of those I think would be very useful in this conversation because we did an annex about the target groups in the proposal. So if I can share, I try to share my screen.
I stopped sharing.
Okay, great. And I'm going to share as well. I don't know if it is working. Perhaps yes. Yeah, it is. I think you see my screen. Our hypothesis was a cascade impact about 3 levels of beneficiary target groups. The first level are the academic teachers, so the higher education institution teachers, professors and lecturers, and the teacher education, the lecturers that do lessons in initial teacher education. So this is the main level. These teachers, professors, lecturers, and so on, will have an impact, an implicit impact on the third level, so the university students and the school students, because we work at the main level on teacher education and higher education institution teachers, still professors, let's say. And the second level are the school teachers. But our first target, in our opinion, are those.
So in terms of the handbook will, and the guidelines and the handbook will deliver, will be for the teachers, right?
Yeah, the academic teachers in a broad sense, yeah. So they can give input in the initial teacher education, so in their courses for new teachers, new school teachers, that can benefit in a second time in midterm and probably in long term. Probably we can say that the second level is midterm, the third level is long term.
But just to clarify, in terms of the handbook, would it be the guidelines? Can they be used by school teachers as well?
This is something that we can.
Specifically for the higher education.
This is a very interesting point. In my opinion, would be also for this. I don't know if it's too heavy as work, but in hypothesis can be applied also for school teachers. Perhaps we can hypothesize a sort of annex, a simplified annex, like a fact sheet, a short version of this framework that can be useful for.
Because this task is led by the University of Oulu, perhaps Azusa can think about it and tell us, not right now, but in the future, whether this is a possibility or not. Eleni has got a question.
Yes, so I guess when I was looking at the diagram that Raffaele shared, we are not in a department of education. So we don't have direct contact with teacher mentors or those who train the teachers. So I'm wondering how much of a problem that might be. That's one question. And then the second is whether we can, when we talk about teachers, we can mean teachers at very different levels. Usually when I use the term teacher, I mean primary school level or secondary school level, not for higher education. So if I may suggest, maybe so that we can avoid many misinterpretations, maybe if we talk about the higher education faculty, we can use a term like faculty. I don't know what other term may be used at the European level, or something like that, just to make sure that we have the terms right and we know who we're targeting each time.
That's quite good, Eleni, and I think those constitute some of the challenges that we can put on the table. Saika, if you can share the table again, perhaps we can fill it with a few of these insights that Eleni shared with us. So I think it could be something that we can reflect now, even as a short-term outcome, because this is a decision that we have to make now, whether we want to include teachers in school teachers rather than just focusing on the higher education.
So for me,
yes.
One of the other things that I found in the proposal itself is about PhD students who are kind of trained, or sometimes they're prepared through their research to become higher education teachers, if we call that faculty. So I would include them. I'm not sure whether I would necessarily include school teachers, since we're focusing on higher education.
Yeah. So the challenge would be probably to focus beyond the higher education to include school teachers.
Yeah, we have to underline that our Erasmus Plus is inside the call key activity 2 higher education. So we are in the branch higher education. But however, we can think about different solutions. But in a certain way, I have the same feeling. I would be very interesting to go deep in also for school teachers, but can be complicated in a certain way. Can be perhaps also because we have a little delay. I don't know. perhaps can be a good idea to go to higher education institutions. However, something on the table.
Yeah.
But our feeling is similar to Evan.
It's something for Azusa to think about as
Yes.
leading partner on this task, whether you want to develop those guidelines only for the higher education or include teachers as well.
May I ask what kind of, how can I say, like volume do you expect, or are you expecting? Like, is it like a long report or like a short guidebook, or what kind of output?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is it going to be a short handbook? Is it going to be a big one? Is it going to be just, very quick guidelines, something, visually nice and easy to navigate, or is it going to be a very long document?
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, initially I was thinking this task one is gonna be a foundation, like a theoretical foundation of this project. In that case, maybe we should dedicate on more, how can I say, like a deeper level. But if we create a guidebook for teachers, then I'm not sure like how much deeper we should go and we should cover. So this.
Yeah. We have a few comments or questions. Sorry, you all froze. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because I cannot see you, but I remember that Alessandra possibly wanted to ask something, and then I could see Eleni maybe raising the hand.
Yes.
So, Alessandra, would you like to ask something?
Yeah, no, it was old, and I did write something in the chat related to what Elena was saying. That also for us, generally the term that we use, we go for educational stuff or leadership if we want to address also them, or yeah. But we always target the higher education institution as we represent the sector in that sense. So for us, going to schools, so lower level would be a bit more complicated. Will not be in line with our audience. Of course, I agree that if we design something that is relevant for teachers in training or teacher in general, so using the previous term we were using, because I think here is also an Italian background that bring us in that direction. I think it is relevant for all levels, but I would focus more on higher education institution, also because there are more sources we could also share. I also show you we have the embedded models that is really a source that a partner can use. It's open source on how to design blended education. So doesn't cover the self-regulated learning, but for sure is a resource that maybe you from the Finnish partner, I forgot the name, sorry, Anuka, something like that. Sorry, I cannot remember your name.
Azusa, I am.
Tell me again, Azusa, sorry.
Yes, no, sorry. My name is difficult.
Sorry, I never heard, so I needed to learn it. So I think it is a source that could be used and available for more. I mean, we can brainstorm, but you are the expert on self-regulation, so I would see a combination of both. But yeah,
I just had an idea because Alessandra, what you were saying was so helpful, and I was thinking in my mind, well, it would be good if you could actually put it on the table. I was thinking, Saika, could you actually put that table onto Google Drive and then share the link with the group on the chat so we can all access it? And when we have these kind of ideas, instead of putting it on the chat, we can directly input in the table.
Yeah. So do you want me to do it now? Try and do it.
If you can do it now, that would be really, really great. All you have to do is just copy and paste the table onto a Google Drive document, it could be a Word document again or an Excel document.
Yeah. Let me just try it.
That would probably help the whole group to input things into the table. And just to remind you all that this table is a sort of an iterative process. So it's not just for this meeting. Even if in the future you feel like you have new ideas and things that you want to share with the group, we can always go back to the table and add stuff. So new resources, new opportunities, or if any challenge comes up in the future, you can always input that in the table. So the whole group knows what's going on with the tasks that we are facing. Now, I think Eleni wanted to say something, right?
Yes, I wanted to go back to this idea of who are we targeting, and then back to the idea of the length of the handbook and the content of the handbook as well. So the first thing is, after the clarifications that Raffaele gave about the focus of the proposal and the section of the Erasmus Plus program that we belong to, I think we should be really focusing on higher education and not try to combine both higher education, academic staff, as Alessandra put it, I think very well done. That's good terminology, and also school teachers. I think it complicates things, and the needs of each audience is very different. They're very different. And I don't think that we gain much out of trying to do everything at the same time.
I personally agree with you, Eleni, because on another project that we're doing with the University of Foggia, which is about, it's a systematic review of the literature on models of well-being in higher education. One of the things that we found, it was that the way that well-being is conceptualized is very different between schools and universities. So they have very different ways of promoting things, of doing things, so probably the handbook would be not enough for universities and not enough for schools if we combine them together, because you will have to limit the target. So probably if we focus on one, which is our main target really, the higher education, we could probably deliver a better product.
Yeah. And the second comment that I have is about the handbook itself and how lengthy it should be or not, and what it should include. And there, I think we have to specify the reason for creating the handbook. So if it is for other institutions who wish to, uptake the MOOC or the serious game, or what is it that we are trying to do by creating the handbook? That's the first thing. And if it is for some people to use it even at the higher education level, I think it has to be concise. It cannot be a very lengthy document. It cannot be like a full literature review, a full article. I think it should point to places in the literature where people can learn more, but it should be as concise as possible, because I think that we're going to observe the same phenomenon as with teachers at the primary or secondary school level, where if you give them a very lengthy background, they won't read it.
Yes. That's about that to the table. By the way, if you want to access that, Saka has shared the. Thank you.
Yeah, I've shared the link, and I'll also share. Shall I share my screen as well, so we can see what everyone's?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yeah. So we can all input things into the table now.
Can you see my screen, Salvo?
Let me see. Yes, we can see the. Yeah, we can see your screen. Yes, perfect.
So you can see that people have the chance to type in.
Yes, and just very quickly, because I remembered that Raffaele added some comments in the chat. So we have...
Yeah, I shared the hypothesis of different competence map of the group. However, is an initial proposal.
Perfect. So we can add that probably as a resource.
Rewrite on the chat, so it's fresh one.
I don't know what I have done by it. It doesn't really work, but probably might be because it is. But yeah, the idea, Raffaele, was that the other partners can contribute to the.
Yeah, I put in the system.
Yes, I've seen that in the chat. Yeah, I will add that as a resource or support for the for this first task.
And may I ask a question, if I have time more?
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you. So this project results 4, which is led by the I'm sorry, the organizations from the Netherlands. Yes. So this is also, it says like guidelines for the future replicability of the tuned approach. So I assume this result 4 is also producing some guidelines. So I was wondering, how could our leading outcome be differentiated from that guidelines?
So
It's different.
I think the guidelines will be part of the first task, and they will integrate the handbook. So the handbook will contain guidelines on how to successfully deliver self-regulation learning. Is that what I have understood? Is that right? I don't think that they are separate documents. I don't think that you will have to provide guidelines and then you will have to write a handbook. I think that the guidelines will be part of the handbook.
Okay. Then, because I'm now reading the funding application, and it is results 4. They are 4 project results, right? If I am right.
So, all right, okay. So, but this will be probably. Are you talking about the definition of pedagogical framework for practical implementation?
No.
T1.4 as a task.
No, I think PR4. I'm a bit confused with this PR and T.
I think that will be a task.
Project results and task are T are task. Task are a sort of activity inside the PR. That is the project result. At the end of the, sorry, perhaps Salvo wants to add something, but at the end of this process, we will be evaluated about our project results. So at the end, we will create the project result 1, that is a document, and the national agency will assess our the quality of our work, seeing our project results. So the whole document we will create. The tasks are only a project management structure in order to manage the drafting and to collect information. However, is a project management division in a certain way.
Okay, thank you. So this task 1, we are now talking about task 1. Then it is under project results 1.
Yes. So task 1 was just about building the groundwork for this handbook. I think that P4 will be the whole project outcome, which relates to the handbook basically. And we have a series of tasks from looking at the Gantt chart. We have 6 tasks to get to that point. What we're talking about today is just the first 3 tasks, which relate to the first 6 months of the project.
Okay. Thank you. Now
then you will have, after these 6 months, you will have another task, and then 2 more to get to the final product.
Okay. Thank you. Then
share the screen again with the table because we've lost it.
Yeah. I thought it was looking a bit funny, so I just took it down.
Yeah, I did it at some point. Yes. I do believe that we should move on really to the next task. Otherwise, we might not have enough time to talk about them all. But we can always go back to the first task if there is anything at any point that you by talking about the second task, you think it feeds back into the first one. So
Can you see my screen, Salvo?
yes, we can see your screen now. And again, remember that if you want to make any changes to the table, it's online, so we can all access it. Jiggly, who is Anonymous Dinosaur?
I don't
We
know.
have an anonymous dinosaur working on the table. Anyway, let's move on to the second task, which is the definition of cooperative learning strategies for open, blended, and distance courses. And this one should be led by the University of Foggia. And I can see from the Gantt chart that, in theory, this task should start from the 4th month, and it should go on until the 7th month. So, first question that I need to ask about this task, just keeping in mind, the economy of this project and trying to save time for the timeline. Is this a task that needs to wait until the end of the first one, or is it a task that can start a little bit earlier so we can try to save a little bit of time?
Yeah, I think we can anticipate a little bit in order to, as the Professor Limone said, we can cover the first delay we have. So we can go in parallel and then merge the result into the final document. Yes, so we can, of course, anticipate this.
I'm adding things to the table. So if you can scroll down a bit, Saika, so we can all see.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So do you think that you have the capacity at the moment? When do you think, Raffaella, that the University of Foggia could start working on this task? Is it something that you can do straight away, or is it something that you need to wait at least a month?
No, we can start more or less immediately. So we can start with provide contribute by now. The aim of this task is to derive the trajectory for teacher practice using cooperative and collaborative learning. So to provide the strategies for distance courses and for blended courses in order to give a sort of guide for our target user in order to adapt their needs in a certain way. So to adapt these strategies for their needs. So we can create some scenarios. My hypothesis is to create some scenarios that are useful for the higher education lecturers to adapt to their environment, because we can have different topics. I don't know, lecturers and professors from science, professors from humanities, and so on. But we have to give some strategies, common strategies, and giving some scenarios. So we will implement some ideal scenarios.
Raffaele, sorry, can I ask, first of all, Saka, could you scroll up a little bit so we can input things about the outcomes? And I do apologize for that, but being very new to this kind of project and sometimes being a little bit thick as well, could you explain to me really very, very simple terms to someone that doesn't know anything about this task, what exactly we need to do in terms of definition of cooperative learning strategies for open, blended, and distance courses? What do we need to do? Very, bread and butter of this kind of task. Very simple.
In my idea, we have to give some theoretical basis very briefly to a teacher that don't belong to pedagogy. So giving some a framework behind, a theoretical framework behind, giving some references about the collaborative learning and cooperative learning, then provide the strategies for open and blended distance learning, how to implement the distance learning in very brief manner, and then some scenarios, some real scenarios that can be a prototype scenarios for the teachers that can benefit from their these scenarios, perhaps also with visual in visual terms, also in written and visual terms, in order to give some
So,
input triggers for teachers.
okay, thanks, Raphael. When you say we got to give our target audience some theoretical basis,
Yeah,
does it mean that we have to explore the literature and then tell them this is what the research has discovered?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
But in simpler terms, because
Yeah,
as I
absolutely,
understood, this kind of project is not just for academic
exactly,
staff that works in pedagogy. It could be for any, so it could be for engineers, it could be for
exactly,
economists. So they don't necessarily know the language of pedagogy. So
exactly.
very simply put, we got to tell them what works for. What are the best strategies, basically, for blended
Yeah,
distance courses?
exactly. I agree with all you said, because it's like you said, it would be not simplified but very narrowed for each topic, each subject.
Yeah, yeah. I do always like to say it's got to be simple, not simplistic. Uh,
Exactly.
so,
I agree.
yeah, we can't oversimplify things, but we have to make them accessible. And when you said about the scenarios, uh, do you mean like give them some possible real life examples of what
Yeah,
happened in a certain situation, like some students that they were in a distance learn course, and what worked well for them, what
yeah,
worked well for the
yeah.
teachers.
Exactly. Or, for example, you have a blended course. Yeah, you have, when you are in blended course, you keep attention to your mates that are in classroom, but you have to think about some strategies in order to involve as much as you can the other one that are in distance. So you have to do this, and this.
Okay, that yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And just one question: these things that we're doing in for this task, are they going to be used for the handbook, or is it going to be a separate document or something else that we're going to give to the
In
academic?
my vision would be a chapter of the final handbook, because
Oh, right.
all of parts will be part of of a whole document. We can use the task to do the document, but I think is the perhaps the more simple strategies to get it.
So it would be probably a chapter of the handbook, a chapter explaining
Exactly.
the teaching staff what works in and what kind of best strategies we can use for blended and distance learning courses.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I agree.
Okay, that sounds very good, and it can also help Azusa and the team to better figure out exactly what to do with the handbook. At least they know that uh, this kind of chapter would be for the University of Foggia to work
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But again, uh,
Um,
if other partners can contribute to this chapter in terms of what kind of literature we might need. Uh, that reminds me that we got to find a platform or somewhere where we can store and share files for this project, so we can all, benefit from that. It's going to be either Google or something else, but I was leaving that for towards the end of the meeting. But it's something that we got to keep in mind, because if we need help from other partners, a partner wants to share a piece of paper, some research or some reports or any other thing, we've got to be able to do it easily and in a way that can be shared with everyone.
Salva, are these all short-term goals for, or should we split them?
After for the handbook would be a long-term one. Would be the final. It will feed into the final output for the first for P4, basically for the first project activity, the project result.
And what about midterm? So should some of these move over to the midterm, or are they all short-term?
Maybe Rafaela can help us to identify better which ones would be for the initial ones. Or which ones do you think it would be good to focus on? I think that exploring the literature will definitely come first.
Would be the first step. Perhaps to analyze which are the teacher practices, the higher education teachers lecturer practice they implement. I don't know if you want to add a sort of a focus group or something like that in order to collect information from our groups, from our, I don't know, PhD students,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Well, we are working collaboratively and in a co-designed and co-produced kind of framework. So if you think that you can do something with your Foggia that can be co-designed in terms of this task, that would be really helpful. For example, I was thinking about the scenarios. Where would you get the information to build that kind of scenario? You could actually draw it from your own teaching staff in terms of what kind of things they have done in a real life situation. So that could be probably a midterm outcome. I don't think that you will do it straight away. You might need a little bit of time to organize the focus groups. Exactly, if you put the scenarios as a midterm outcome,
how to implement.
Yeah, the scenarios and the visual written terms. Yeah, that could be more of a midterm outcome.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
What we were saying, if you can add that side, running some focus groups at the University of Foggia.
Will that be resources or support?
Yeah, that would be resources and support. Do you? This is a question for the other partners. Do you think that there is anything that you could contribute towards this kind of task? Do you think that you have any literature that can help? Or do you think that, like, for example, you've done some work like this in the past, or you know anyone else that has done something similar, and you can advise on where to look at? Anything that comes to your mind could be quite helpful. Or if you would like to be involved with the focus groups, for example, or if you are already planning something like this in your own universities, or if you have scenarios already from your own experience or from someone that works at your own institution that can be helpful, we can include those. It doesn't necessarily need to come from the University of Foggia. Actually, it would be better if we had international scenarios to share. Right. Well, any kind of challenge you can foresee at the beginning, for example, is there anything that could stand in the way or something that we need to be aware of, potential risk?
Perhaps the what we discussed before, to simplify the concept and to do not go in deep, and to be only on the first shape in a certain way. This
Yeah, that
could be
keep things simple. It's a very hard task in
yeah,
my experience. I think we can all relate to that when, especially when you are so used as an academic to write in a very different language, try to translate that for other people. It could be a bit of a challenge. So yeah, try to keep things simple and to be concise again. Yeah, that could be a bit of a challenge.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This
Do you
is
see
the food.
any challenge do you see any challenge in the exploration of the literature?
I have one comment or
Sure.
challenges. Um, I I don't know if you have already justified this in the proposal, but do you differentiate the term like collaborative learning and cooperative learning? Because in our unit, we mainly use collaborative learning, but I don't know about your institution, so I'm just wondering, how do you deal with this
Mm, okay,
term?
that's quite a good point, Asisa.
Yeah,
Sorry. Um,
Sorry.
Bless you.
let's see.
I
Thank you.
was
I put as a question there, do you differentiate the terms?
yeah, between collaborative. Could you specify between collaborative and co-produced? Was it that your comment, Susa?
Yes, I think this is, how can I say, kind of controversial. Like some people prefer to use collaborative learning and some others are more like cooperative learning. But in our research unit, I think we use, how can I say, we understand that cooperative learning could be, for example, what is the term? I forgot. Like the task can be distributed to the each participants, then they do individually and then bring back to the same table and then produce something. This could be a cooperative learning, but collaborative learning is more like a real collaboration. We differentiate these, but of course there are many other perspectives. So I was wondering.
Yeah, I think that in the proposal, if I remember well, collaborative was the key term used.
Yeah, yeah. But however, it's something that is matter of discussion, and I'm very pleased and happy that we discuss about this point because is crucial. Perhaps collaborative is more effective in this area. So. Perhaps we can, if we all agree, can be the word to be used. Regarding the focus group, I don't know if you want to stay here or I can also say a challenge in focus group.
In terms of the focus group, I was thinking, does it necessarily need to be face to face? Because if we
No,
do it online, we might get a chance to invite people from all the organizations that we
yeah,
work with,
but
if
great,
there's an opportunity for that. So we can share more experiences from really everywhere. And that could inform better the
but
chance
great.
that eventually you will be writing. Do you think that there might be people at the University of Oulu and the Cyprus University of Technology, for example, that could be interested in taking part in a focus group and sharing their own experiences, or especially people that have been involved in distance learning courses, because that's mainly what we're interested in, and also in blended teaching. And obviously, Alessandra, your organization as well, we would be very happy if there were people that had that kind of experience, if they could participate in a focus group.
In
Okay.
addition,
Said yes, provided that there is time to optimize this. Yes.
perhaps, sorry for interrupt you. In the case of EATO, would be great because they have a good network. So if they only share this information, there is a focus group, blah blah blah. If someone want to contribute, would be great for us and would be a good opportunity. I have a lot of links, as you know, Salvo, with the University of Naples. I would send an invitation from groups from this university, for example.
Yeah, we could even find people at the University of Bradford
Great.
interested. But I think that Eleni made a very good comment. We need to define the background and the profile of people that we want to invite. We can't just send an open call because we will get, first of all, so many people probably, or we will get the wrong kind of people. So it would be good to have a bit of a discussion on what kind of people we actually would want to have in a focus group like this. So I don't know if this is the venue to have a discussion like this, but considering this is a medium-term outcome, it doesn't need necessarily to start now. It could start in a couple of months. And if we find the right platform online, like a forum where we can carry on this discussion in the next month or two, we can better identify the kind of people that we want for the focus group and how to best organize it.
Yes, it's a good idea.
Was adding, yeah, Alessandro, do you want to share with us?
Yeah, I wanted to say I agree with Eleni with the profile, but it is also important when you invite somebody to know what this focus group aims to, what we actually want to achieve with it. And definitely online is possible with Zoom. You do breakout session, is feasible. Even we can support, we have the account for that. Or another venue could be the conference I shared with you before, could be sent just an abstract, but needs to be done by the 31st of May, so next Tuesday, and could be a workshop. And then you really there could have a profile or not in line, but also there, when you write a workshop proposal, you could write as a participant needed, background, something. So can be tailored. You're welcome, Eleni. Thank you. I'm happy you like it.
Yeah, that's great, Alessandro. Would you like to add that to the table if you have time during the rest of the discussion? Because that could be very helpful to remember.
Yes, I do.
Thanks.
Yes, we as a University of Foggia can cover the drafting of the abstract and the proposal for the conference Alessandra is claiming, and if we share and we converge with this idea, in my opinion, is a clever idea, a brilliant idea to apply in this conference in this way in order to collect people from outside our partnership.
Sounds good. Raffaella, you too, would you like to add that to the table? So we
yeah.
I think those are both resources and support that that we can add. Now, in terms of the long-term outcome of this, we said that this will eventually inform the handbook. So it's going to be probably a chapter for the handbook. And we confirm that. Is that what we're trying to achieve with this kind of task?
Yeah.
Perfect. So the support, I believe, at least for the University of Oulu, is that what we can do is to basically they know that this is for us. The University of Foggia I'm talking about is doing this kind of chapter, so they don't need to work on that. So that could already be a little bit helpful to know that you don't have to focus on designing these kind of guidelines, and you can focus on other things for your chapter. You mentioned before, Raphael, that each partner can actually contribute to a chapter for the handbook.
Yeah, yeah.
So that could take away a little bit of the burden from the University of Oulu that doesn't need to design the whole handbook.
Yeah.
Also because they start off as the first task, but actually they only have one task at the beginning. So the task for them is not to design the whole handbook. The project result, if it's for all partners really. And even if you don't design a specific chapter, you always have the chance to contribute at least 1 or 2 chapters, as I understand.
Yeah, we should analyze which is our strategy. In my opinion, the whole document would be collaborative in all the levels. The University of Oulu can drive us, can be the leader under scientific point of view, and to guide and to lead its task inside the big vision of the project result as a whole. And each part could be obviously co-constructed, but would be in charge of a single partner to simplify the process.
So can we say that one of the at least specific tasks of the University of Oulu will be definitely to write a chapter on self-regulation learning?
Yeah.
May I have a question?
Yes.
Sorry.
So just before your question, Saka, if you can scroll up again and go back to the long-term outcome for the University of Oulu, instead of creation of the handbook, which is more of a target for the whole group, the target would be, the long-term outcome would be more about creating a chapter and leading a little bit the creation of the handbook.
It's correct.
That makes sense more to me.
And sorry, Azusa, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
yes, sorry. Yeah, actually, that makes more sense to me. I mean, like writing a chapter for self-regulated learning theory. So my question is, like, so you're talking about handbook, but is it the outcome of project research 1 or task 1?
No, the handbook is the whole project result 1. The project result 1 will be an handbook that, in my opinion, will contain different chapters. Each chapter is a deliverable, let me say, from each task. So at the end, we will have an handbook with 5 chapters. Each chapter is done inside the task.
Okay, okay. Now, yes, that makes sense a lot. So we, University of Oulu, is leading project result 1, which is handbook. And then we are also writing a chapter for self-regulated learning, but other partners will be writing the other chapter.
It's just to clarify, it's a minor point, but it's self-regulation learning and motivation. So there is also the element of
yes.
If you look at the task there, it's clearly stated that it's self-regulation learning and motivation in higher blended education.
Okay.
So that would be, again, Azusa, I think the challenge for you, again, it's about keeping things simple and accessible without losing really the richness of what you're trying to deliver. But we've got to keep in mind that this kind of project result, talking about the handbook, it's not just for people that work in the pedagogical field. It's about people that work in higher education. So it could be really anyone, and it's got to be easily understood by anyone. So keep me as a target for the because I don't work specifically in pedagogy. I'm a psychologist, but yeah. If I can read it and understand it easily, I will tell you. If there is any
Yes, I
use,
will try.
use me as, or we can use, other people from other fields as our targets, so we can share with them. That could be one of the support and resources that we can use. We can ask colleagues in other departments or in other fields. I'm thinking about Alessandra, for example, that we can give them a draft of what we are producing and ask them, does this make sense to you? Is it clear? Is it easily understood? Because if it's not, we will encounter problems when we're gonna produce the final handbook. Because if people cannot use it, what's the point?
Yes.
So shall we say that that could be a midterm kind of resource support that we can use to share the first draft with colleagues and people from other fields and get the feedback? Because I wouldn't want to do that at the very end after we have produced everything and then getting the feedback, no, this is something that I really don't understand, and then we have to go back 20 steps and redo the whole thing. I think it's good to do it midway so we know whether we are heading towards the right direction or not. Alessandra, you were saying that on the note we need to have a separate meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if we are, because now we are talking on a macro level, so actually micro level, but I think we need to standardize a procedure and say how generally we go when there is a deliverable. So how does it work? We have a meeting and a procedure, and then the tools like required by the proposal, and it is in line with quality assurance. So then every partner knows what to expect, how to move, where are things, and what are the steps, and to who to refer. And as a quality assurance manager, I know what to do next and who to support for collaborating with. So all these things that require more time. So maybe I'm gonna send an invitation to you and Raffaele, University of Foggia, for a bilateral meeting on this, because we need and should have been already ready, but we know that we are late.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Alessandra. We do have the Gantt chart, we have meetings every 6 months. But obviously, there are tasks and things that cannot wait that long. So that's open to all partners, obviously. If we have an intermediate meeting that you want to attend just to, keep up to date with everything that we're doing, I think the meetings should be open, even if it's a specific meeting on a specific task. If any of the partners would like to attend them, it would be important to know what other people are doing. Still, within the idea of a collaborative process. So, it would be probably helpful to organize another meeting soon, so we can better define the things that we need to do for these tasks. Today was just to explore to write down in this table the things that we need and the things that we can start off with, but it's probably useful to have other meetings. So yeah, thanks for suggesting that. Shall we put that as a resource at the beginning, really? It's even for a short-term outcome, we need to set up some meetings, intermediate meetings. That leads to, if we want to start having a discussion on the third task, bearing in mind that we can always go back to the previous ones if any other ideas emerge, but it would be good to start talking about the definition of co-creation procedures but the OERS reapplication, sorry, the OERS, I remember the acronym, but
Open educational resources.
educational resources, yes, thank you. So
I think there is a short term. So first of all, I think also here is meant as a chapter of the handbook. So we will probably put a definition of what open educational resources are, a bit of background. So I think that can be immediately found. I did already ask to my colleagues that are in the field from longer what are the reference for EDTU, because of course we will share them. And another thing that could be beneficial probably is, if I remember well, Eleni, during your presentation, you spoke of a co-creation strategy that you actually apply. Maybe we could think of transfer something related to this sector of educational resources, but I'm not sure if could be. But I just I'm having this idea if it's feasible or not.
I think we should think about it. I would need some more information about how you're envisioning the open education resources and the aims of this thing. But and then we can build it together and add to it.
Because on the co-creation we could put so many things, but it seems to me you have already a structure procedure, so maybe we could enhance that in this process and connect the two if they are connectable. And
sorry, Alessandra, I got a little bit lost on the request that you made to Eleni. Was it about sharing information about how they do co-creation at the university?
yes, if it is something that can be applied to this or not, but is a resource on the table, I think is worth to see if it could be connected or not. Maybe it's just on a personal level and not really applied to resources, but I am not aware of it. And Eleni also need more background on this frame, what open educational resources are, how we define that. But it's all related, for what I can say, to this movement of open up education. So
yeah, so I know what open educational resources are. I'm just having a little bit of a difficulty now to contextualize it within a project, and some of it might be an issue of time scale and what we're trying to aim for. So if we have some initial paragraphs kind of conceptualizing the idea and contextualizing it within Tuned, then we can come back to that.
I'm also honestly learning about it by looking at the proposal. It says at page, lost the page, 63, that definition, co-creation, procedure, blah, 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 led by DTU. The task will provide a practical solution for the target user, lecturers in higher educational institution, in creating learning lessons in the distance of blended contest, with a special focus on the reapplication of these learning tools. So it's like
okay. Just to make sure, did I get it right in terms of the challenges? Did you say, Eleni, that it would be good for you to have a look first at the draft, and then perhaps you can add your own contribution to co-creation?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we should talk about co-creation here, whether it's actually adaptation. So it's a different concept.
Sorry, what was the concept? Adaptation.
Yeah, that's another adaptation of resources or modification of resources. I mean, there are several different terms.
Yeah. Okay. But since the task is about the definition of co-creation procedures, do you think that there is anything that you can contribute towards that?
Yeah, but it's a co-creation procedure for reapplication, so it's not wrong what Eleni is.
Oh, right. Sorry if I got it wrong. If I got it wrong, it's just I'm new to the field.
So yeah. One of my personal goals, I guess, for this meeting that we're kind of achieving, but I'm not there yet, is to understand the proposal as it was written, because we weren't part of of all the the whole process, I guess, of developing the proposal. So what somebody had in their minds when they wrote a sentence here and there might be different from what I would interpret it now reading it, or even interpreting it like in 6 months reading it, etc. So what I'm trying to understand is whether the co-creation idea actually applies to what Alessandra is describing, and I'm not sure yet. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's why it would help me if I had a more elaborate explanation of that, and then I could respond. Like even if it says co-creation there, but if I don't believe that co-creation applies, I would have, a lot of difficulty justifying or arguing on behalf of that. So.
Okay, so that's definitely a challenge that we need to overcome. So the partners need to understand the proposal a little bit better.
Yeah, I was wondering.
It's a first meeting.
Sorry?
I was just saying that this is natural, of course, because it's our first meeting.
It will definitely get a little bit easier with the next meetings. And I was thinking that definitely confirms the need for other meetings, as Alessandra was proposing. Probably we will need to have a bit of a discussion on the proposal. Okay, that definitely makes sense, yes.
May I have a comment?
Of course.
On open educational resources, because currently I'm working for open science related project, and we are also dealing with this open educational resources on the surface level. But I was a little bit confused of this term, like co-creation procedures for open educational resources, because as far as I understand, I think open educational resources in general, it's, for example, learning materials, which is open for everyone. Like, for example, like Creative Commons license or applied, and everyone can access to the resources, thing like this. But in this context, in Chune's context, I was wondering what is the definition or what is the kind of direction of this open science, open education resources? Is it the MOOC course or?
Yeah, that's the exact question that I had in mind. Thanks, Azusa. I was going to ask exactly what we mean by open educational resource in the context of this project. Will it be the MOOC? Will it be the serious game? Will it be the handbook?
In the first idea we did was to have a sort of collaboration and to implementation of both the MOOC and both of the scenarios of game. So in our idea, when we dropped the first draft, we made the hypothesis. We implemented 2 tasks for the other project result. In the MOOC, we added the task called MOOC lessons creation and co-creation. So we will implement the lessons, but would be great, and the aim we want to achieve is to co-create the lessons also with the professors and the lecturers. And on a second level,
if you can scroll up a little bit, sorry, I didn't mean to make that person that wrote that thing believe that I deleted the note. I just moved it to a note, and if you want to add things to what Raffaella was saying, so Raffaella, can you just confirm that the MOOC and the series game are definitely part of what we mean by open education resource in this?
Yeah. In a certain way, a lesson will be an open educational resource done by other lecturers, and we should do a scheme, a structure.
But I do have a follow-up question. If this task will, in the end, become a chapter of the handbook, well, that's the first question. Will this task become a chapter of the handbook? So will we have a chapter that explains what open educational resources are and what is co-creation procedures?
In my vision could be embedded in this third part, as we are
So,
discussing. Yeah.
okay. And if this will become a chapter of the handbook, what do we need to do in order for this to become a chapter? So do we have to explain in this chapter what is co-creation, first of all? So
Yeah.
some literature on that, just like we're doing for the first chapter led by the University of Oulu that will
Yeah.
explain what is self-regulation learning. Will we have a part of the chapter explaining what is co-creation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in addition, in my opinion, here would be great to integrate a sort of roadmap in order to implement the multiplayer events, because the multiplayer events are co-creation events, and in these events we will involve. Uh, this is correct. What Adusa is saying. Uh, Perhaps is more on because are different perhaps from real resources. In the serious game will be scenarios, will be co-created scenarios in a participatory approach that are not real a resource, an open educational resource, but it don't belong to procedures. It is correct. Yeah, I'm thinking when I'm talking. However, in my opinion, this chapter would explain the context, the what what is our feeling about this co-creation in a broad sense, and an explanation about how to implement the multiplayer event, which are the milestones that we have to implement, which are the scheme of the event, which are the target, which are the venue, if we want to do blended or online or
We want to interrupt you, Rafaela, just to make things clear. When you talk about the events, this is so now we're talking about another outcome that is not the handbook, right?
yeah.
And these events should be basically informed by co-creation procedures.
Yeah, exactly. If you go and check
Yeah.
the page, you will find, or I say for all the partners, uh, at
Do you remember,
page.
yeah, do I remember well that, for example, we were planning to do the second meeting in Finland so we could have an event to share the um, the pedagogical framework, the results of the pedagogical framework,
I don't remember.
something like that.
Perhaps is at the end. We can do it. This would be great, but it's not. I don't find it in the Gantt. I say because I'm from confusion, because this is something that I do very in the project implementation. I do very commonly, but in this I don't see it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this
I
is
have
not
done that.
this is not mandatory, but it's something that would be great if we want to implement. It's
So
not
just
paid.
yeah,
That's
just very quickly, I'm going to share the Gantt charts. Sorry, Saika, do you mind if
Yeah, yeah.
just so we can all understand what we're talking about when we talk about events? So I've got the Gantt chart in front of me. And Rafael, can you confirm that we're talking about the multiplier events here at the bottom of the Gantt chart?
yeah, exactly,
So the
exactly.
first one, for example, would be the Italian
Yeah,
co-creation event
ex-
for innovative teaching methodology in online context. And that was meant to happen next year
Yeah.
Which might be same time if we manage to catch up with the time that we've lost, or it might be a little bit later on. But these are pretty much the events. But I can see that all these events, they happen all at the same time.
Yeah. But however, I can say from my previous experience of a similar project, we can split as far as we want, unless create problem for the whole project. So we can also have in 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, what I'm trying to understand is, are these online events or are they going to be face to face?
No, are paid as face to face. I don't remember which is the budget. I'm going to see in a minute. I think that some participants are online and some in presence. Yeah, for the first, for example, we have 15 participants face to face and 15 online. This means that is blended in a certain way. However, if we don't do 15 and 15, it's okay. For example, if you do 40 virtual and 0 local, will be funded, the University of Foggia in this case, will be funded for 15 euros for each participant. So the total budget got will be 15 for 40. In the case you have a local participant, will be reimbursed for 100 euro for each participant. So it's a matter of this.
So we have some budget for doing the events face to face, but not all of them. However,
no, all of those.
Sorry, yes, we can potentially do them all face to face, but if we don't do one face to face, we can save that money and use it for another event to invite people, for example.
Absolutely,
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing the screen now, and Saika, if you can share the table again. So the events are part of this task. It's like another outcome that we're trying to achieve with this task. And because I think they're all going to happen starting from next year, can we call it a long-term outcome?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll add it to, so the chapter for the handbook is 1, and the multiplier events are another outcome. Is it something that we need to think right now, or can we work first on the chapter for the handbook?
In my hypothesis, would be great to have a sort of scheme in the chapter. So we have a first idea. Then when we have to implement, something can change. But we have an idea about which resources we need, which are the agenda more or less for the event, which are the target, which can be the venue, if we do blended, how to implement this. Some guidelines about this would be great for each national partner that has to implement the. We had the same problem. Let's say in another project, Alessandra now will implement the national event in Belgium. So in Netherlands, sorry. We tomorrow we will have a meeting to analyze how in Italy went the event, in order to learn some experience, to learn some lesson and implement in Netherlands. So if we have an initial structure, we have a scaffolding, let's say.
So can we say that EADGU can help with the multiplier events, or at least inform with
After I will tell you after the co-creation event, if I may.
maybe
No,
I used the wrong word. Maybe you can not help with the creation of the events, but you can at least share your.
yeah, sure. No, I was teasing Raffaele actually, but I know nothing yet, so I'm looking forward to this meeting we have with Raffaele because they already had this co-creation event, so the expert is Raffaele, but I'm willing to share my experience from 0 to hopefully 100, and maybe we can apply the same process, and always available for support and
Okay.
yeah, but I'm getting also confused, if I may. Now I'm talking to, if I can continue, I see that for the open educational resources, it is important also to develop our assessment matrix for assessing open educational resources. This will be generating a scientific committee that will be useful also for the project and after the project ends. Raffaele, cosa vuoi?
Shed
Yeah.
some light on this.
Tutto vuoi che faccio? Vedi?
No, this is also related to the task 1.5, if I well
Yeah.
remember. That is definition of criteria for the evaluation of co-creation MOOC modules. That is on behalf of Cyprus University. Because there are two tasks that are strongly related, and the T1.5 will be on charge of Cyprus University. And as
Is
you
something that we need to start thinking now? Okay, because on the Gantt chart is something that it's actually starting after 6 months.
yeah.
Is it something like talking about the scientific committee? Is it something that we need to set up now, or we can wait a little bit?
We can wait, in my opinion, we can wait a little bit, but it's strongly related to this. And this criteria for the evaluation would be very important to assess the results. And in my vision, in my initial vision, then we can change the working days internally and so on. But in my vision, would be on charge of Cyprus because they are expert on this. However, I understand Eleni when say I have to understand better the picture, the whole picture, in order to say how to implement. But
Well, okay, Raffaele, sorry if I interrupt you because I am aware of the fact that we are kind of running out of
play.
time, considering that today's meeting was meant to finish at 3:30. So I just need to ask the group now what our intentions are, because there is like quite a few things that we might need to clarify or to discuss in order for certain tasks to be accomplished. So we do have options, but I need the group to express themselves on this. We can either spend a little bit more time today trying to address the most important issues and finish the meeting instead of 3:30 Italian time, about 4:30, or we can set up another meeting specifically to address these issues, to complete the table, and to clarify all the things that need to be clarified. So you tell me what you would like to do today.
You got a question from Alessandra?
Alessandra.
Yeah, it's more a suggestion, if I may, as I put the hat of a quality assessment, and I'm also myself suggesting something. Maybe considering is all new for us, we need, at least from my side, I really need to reread the proposal, read the minutes or this table that we made, and would be really helpful if after the meetings I'd really look forward for the minutes because it's still fresh in my head. But really, if you could share the Gantt, as also Eleni has asked already in the chat, then I could figure out a bit better. It's more visual, and then I think I would suggest, and I wrote in the chat, to have a dedicated task where everybody can decide if they want to join, but at least the leader to be there, and then follow up in the tool we will decide we use it, mail, or if we go with the Google, whatever we like. But that is also something that I take care to come soon with a proposal for a dissemination and the quality assurance, because in the dissemination plan, generally there is the communication management. So then we can fast decide that. And yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense. But what does the rest of the team think? Would you like to have another opportunity to discuss these things further?
Yeah. In my opinion, I agree with Alessandro.
You can read the minutes, or we are also recording the meeting, so that you can always go back to it.
Did we manage at the end?
Yes, we managed. I think Paula sent a message saying that the meeting was being recorded, so we can always go back to it. And yes, it would be good also to go back to the proposal, have a look at it and see exactly what we need to do. I think that it would be good to, that leads actually to some of the things that I wanted to discuss towards the end of this meeting, which is what kind of things we can put in place for the whole group to accomplish the tasks that we have, to work well together. I think that, Alessandro, you mentioned indirectly a few of them, like we need a platform where we can communicate. So if we have doubts, questions, ideas, we need to be able to reach all the other partners. So I think, Saika, you had a suggestion for that, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that we sometimes use something called Slack. Have you heard of it? It's so what we could do is we could set that up for the team and invite you all as colleagues, so that you can kind of it's like a chat. So maybe we'll do that. If anyone's not used to it, I'll try and find a video to show you how to use it. Yeah, Alessandra.
If I may say something about Slack, you need to remember to turn it on. So it's not that immediate. So generally, I have colleagues that use it. They have to send me a WhatsApp to tell me turn it on. So that's a problem.
Are you sure that Slack doesn't give notifications? Because Saika was mentioning before that
it's a while that I don't use it, so could be that you can set it up. It's a while I don't use it.
Right.
So it needs to have a repository space for storing documents and working on documents collaboratively. So I don't know if you need to do that in conjunction with something else like Google Drive or something.
I think Google Drive will be a good option for all the files and
Can we use another? Because I know that Google has got so many apps, and I was wondering if there is anything that we can use on Google, like Slacks, in order to just to use Google for everything. Yeah, Basecamp is a good one. We use that too.
Yeah, we've used Basecamp. We could try and see if we can set that up as well. We can have a look
Teams is a good option as well, but I'm not sure if the University of Georgia uses Teams. I know
we guys have a problem with Google because has all the data stored in USA. So it is a bit tricky, but for one project we can use it if everybody is Google fan. Otherwise, Miro also, we also have used that.
Oh, I never used Miro. Is he open source? Is he?
It's open source.
Okay, so I get that most of you use MS Teams,
yeah,
Google Drive. We use Teams a lot at the University of Bradford, and it's quite useful. And MS Teams is quite good if we want to share thoughts.
Yeah, it is also easy because you can just write in the general chat. You have all in one, and also in terms of safety, yeah, we tend to go in that direction.
What I'm just wondering is, because we have sometimes different tasks, And I don't know if Teams can do that. Can we have like separate like chats for
Yeah.
topics within the
Yes.
same main?
Yeah,
We can have different channels under the general.
That could be helpful.
Yeah, I have to say that I've had many issues with MS Teams. We have them for our university, but then when I get invitations by other organizations to join an MS Teams project, it's very confusing and it's very not usable for me, at least, a lot of times.
I would not use it for the meetings. I agree with you, because it's a nightmare. It's super slow. So, but for repository and the posting thing, for me works for several channels.
Yeah, for me, it's not worth opening MS Teams in addition to something like Google Drive, OneDrive.
What do
and
you
other
use, Eleni?
applications.
What do you use instead?
I usually use OneDrive because I like the Office 365, the editing features. I use Google Drive because it's easier. And then in projects, I've used Basecamp because it offers like a space to store things and then it sends automatic notifications. So I haven't found one tool that combines all of the things that I want.
So we used Basecamp in the past, and that worked quite well for us.
Yeah, because you get a notification. Sorry, you get a notification if you get Basecamp. Should we do like a vote to see which one everyone agrees with?
Let's
Well,
do
it's also, somebody said about Asana, which I haven't used recently, so I don't know if that's better than Basecamp. I think it's similar to Basecamp. I don't know if that's better.
Yeah, I propose it as well, Asana, because it's a good project management tool. However, for me, Basecamp and Asana are similar and are both good.
Just bear in mind that what we need is something that can give us notifications, because the problem that Alessandra was bringing up is that if we don't have that, we will never check that and we will miss important questions, queries. So we need something that can notify us. Basecamp, I think, is good for that because it does that. B, we need something that can be broken down into different conversations. So we cannot have one big chat that includes everything, because in my experience, what happens is that a conversation goes on for like pages and pages, and then someone starts another topic, and then you go back to the previous conversation. It becomes really, really confusing. So we need something that can be like different channels or things like that. And I don't know if Basecamp can do that or Asana can do that.
Why don't use a combination of things? So because Slack does that, you can have different channels. We could also decide that when there is a discussion, not just I'm telling you I put a new version there, so you watch at your time, but I need to talk with somebody that is not just via chat. Then we post something with the link to the channel that could be Slack.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Yes. And does Slack have notifications? So will we be notified if anything posts something onto Slack?
I don't know. I was proposing to use MS Team because we lately are discovering this new function that you can actually notify everybody by using, for instance, I want to write to the Tune project. So my name of the channel will be Tune project. And then I have to go on the general chat or on my specific VP and say, at Tune
The thing is
and
that
everybody.
MS Teams notifies you if you have MS Teams open, or
No.
does it send you an email?
You can, but you that are posting something has to tag somebody. Like in Facebook, you have to use at Tune project and everybody receive an email, or at Salvo Di Martino, and it's like Facebook.
Could we, if you all happy with that, Eleni, can we give it a go? And then in case you're really struggling, we will try and find one to help you with that, because it seems like despite all the problems that MS Teams might have, for this kind of thing that we need might work quite well for the group. And it seems like we all have it, and we all got Teams. have you got Teams? University of Onlu, have you got Teams?
Yes, we use Teams.
Okay, Alessandra, you got Teams, right?
Yeah.
And
Seconda doesn't have. We don't use Teams. I personally have because I'm from previous experience in University of Naples, but I don't
right,
think
okay.
the other one
So that would be hard to include people from
as
the
external. Yeah.
so Teams might not be an option, unfortunately. So we got to.
Do you use Raffaele for Raffaele in
For Blue Arrow. Yeah, but the
Uni Naples set it, but generally for the projects that are not organized with the University of Naples, what do you use?
I use often Asana and Basecamp, the other solution.
Okay, I can see a comment here from Eleni that you might have found on the website of Slack. It says that you can actually get notifications by either email or mobile app. So Slack seems to be working well for what we need.
But the Slack does also give you the repository.
It gives you a very small repository, so it's not. We can't. I think it's not much you can kind of upload onto that. The free
We could
version.
do a combination of them.
Maybe there is something in the budget we can use to get subscription for Slack. So if it gives us all the features that we need, notifications, different channels where we can communicate, and a repository, perhaps we can invest a little. I don't think the Slack is that expensive.
No, it's. I think it's. If you want to move to the more professional one, it's not that expensive.
Well, that might be. Why don't we start on Slack and see how we get on with it? And if we reach the limit, but we see that the limit of the repository, but we see that we really like it and it works well for us, we can make a claim for getting a subscription. Yes, Alexandra.
Suggest. Sorry, Ellen. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
I was saying actually what you said before. Maybe we could try with the Basecamp as a repository and still use Slack, as I said before, for MS Team, because and see what if this combination works, and then if it doesn't, in the meanwhile, I can also look into this, and we could start just for now as a ready-to-go solution, a Basecamp account, and.
But why would we need to use Basecamp? Is there something the Basecamp can do that Slack cannot do?
Repository.
Yeah,
Just-
Slack doesn't have a place for documents.
Okay, so whereas Basecamp has got space for, so can we use just Basecamp, or do we need Slack for something else? I'm just trying to limit the number of that we will be using. Otherwise, it can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah, Sal, there's a question from Aziz as well, and then
Yes.
Eleni.
I haven't used Slack and Basecamp, but is there function for co-editing the document? Like for example, on Google Drive, like we can use Google Sheet and then we can simultaneously edit the document. I think it's quite useful.
Yeah.
So we can upload documents onto Google Drive and then have a mailing list through Google Drive. Is that possible? So I know that Google Drive is a repository, so we can upload documents on Google Drive. What we also need is a way to have a chat, like for communication. Is this something that we can do through Google Drive? You mentioned that you can use mailing lists.
No, maybe not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's possible to create Google groups that are mailing list. I don't know, TUNET project at googlegroups.com, but is a typical mailing list.
Right.
Not really a chat.
So
Yeah.
why don't we start with Basecamp? Let's see how we get on with it. And if there is anything that Basecamp cannot do for our group, we can either use something like Slack or integrate something like Slack, or we can decide that if it's not really doing anything good for us, we can move on to another platform. Just to start off with something.
Yeah. Sal, we've got a question from Eleni.
Yeah, so I guess they have Slack and Basecamp have different affordances. So I think that we'd use Slack if you want to have a continuous stream of conversation. And I'm not sure whether that's actually very efficient because we're online at different times, so we're in different meetings and we won't be able to concurrently discuss all the time. So I think that that's what we need to think about. Now, Basecamp has this threaded type of design where you can post something and then people can respond. And you can get those notifications in your email. And it has also space for repository. And that has been working well. What hasn't been working well or is not included yet, I think, on Basecamp, based on my use, which is now dated maybe a few months back, is that there isn't any collaborative space for collaborative or co-editing documents. And for those purposes, when we used Basecamp recently for another project, we use Google Drive, then we put the link in Basecamp. But that means that if we use Google Drive, I would personally like people to have a Gmail account. Otherwise, I don't like the idea of having too many documents open to everybody because just accessible with a link because people don't have Gmail accounts. So I think that it would be important to have all these issues into account.
Yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea. Alessandra.
I agree with Eleni because, for instance, I have the problem that my Google account, I use it for my personal things. And with the EDTU is a MS, so Microsoft, they don't talk well with each other. So I would need to have secretariat.eu, and that is a common account. It really doesn't make my life easy. So if you agree, I wrote it also in the chat, we could give it a go as a Salvo proposed. We start with Basecamp. In the meanwhile, I start to write the dissemination plan where I kind of try creating pros and cons for each tool we mentioned today. And if we are good with Basecamp, we just continue. Otherwise, I prepare this sort of analysis for us, and in some month, a month, and I'm not speaking of months, but 1 month, we just take a decision, and can be also remotely. We just send.
Where would you upload the dissemination plan? Would you upload it directly onto Basecamp, or would you do like Eleni was suggesting, upload it on Google Drive?
I would not be a fan of using Google Drive as a repository because it will make my life miserable.
Yeah, I think you can add to Basecamp, and I'm sure you can edit the documents there as well, because we did it for our project recently, Salva, where we could edit. So should we just give it Basecamp a try, like you said?
I think that would be a good idea. And if we have any particular issue, we can put it on Basecamp and then we can try to sort them out.
Exactly.
Let's give Basecamp a go and see how we go on with it. So, Okay. So that is agreed. Great. It took a bit of a discussion, but it was important to make sure that we all got what we wanted from this kind of platform. So it's Basecamp for now. Now, another thing that we need to agree about is next meetings. Are we still using Google Drive? Google Meet? Or fine. So we need to find another means to.
Should we use Zoom? Because we've got professional accounts.
We have Zoom.
We both have brought the same, Eleni.
I vote for Zoom. So we'll say, are we all in agreement? Next meeting will be on Zoom.
Yeah, I think it would be better to meet on Zoom.
You can also make a recurrent meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we've got professional accounts, so we can invite you, record it. We know how to use it, so it'll be much easier for us.
I think if I can say something, when you have a recurrent meeting, when you download the recorder, it takes so much space, so use cloud.
Yeah. No, ours will go on the cloud.
Yeah, I think when we use the professional account, it goes directly onto clouds.
You have to choose.
Yeah, and when we download, we'll just download the audio so that we don't have to have everyone's, pictures in. Yeah, okay, Salva, you were saying next point.
Great. So we've agreed on that as well. Next thing that we need to talk about is next meeting, which is, I'm not talking about the intermediate meeting, which can happen easily online, but we will have another meeting in about 6 months' time. And we do need to agree, A, whether this is going to be a face-to-face meeting, and B, in case it's going to be face-to-face, which is the recommended format, what is the venue for the next meeting? So before we start the discussion on that, you might remember from the email that I sent you that there was a proposal, a suggestion coming from the University of Foggia to do the meeting again in Puglia, not far from Foggia, on
Vieste.
the
Vieste.
town of Vieste. And there is a beautiful hotel by the coast, and we could convene there and have our meeting, and then take the opportunity to spend another day or two, if you like, by the coast, and enjoy the nice scenery and everything. Now, having said that, it's also true that I've noticed that on the Gantt chart, the second meeting should actually was meant to take place in Finland at the University of Oulu, in order to best disseminate the theoretical framework, the pedagogical framework. So I'm now asking if that is essential. We should meet in Finland. If it's not, it could be either Vieste or it could be another venue. So I'll open the discussion now to the group.
If I may add something common regarding the presence or distance, it's important to underline that each corner has a button for the multiplayer events. Sorry, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
now we do.
Okay, sorry. I want you to underline that for the meetings, we have some dedicated budget. We can move until the 60% of this budget. So if you have 10, you can move 6 in another category. So typically in staff cost. So more we don't do the meetings, more it's difficult to move this budget. So it's recommended to be in. In the budget I placed the 2 people for each partner for each meeting. But you can use 3 in one meeting, 1 in another, or 0 in another, 4 in another. You are free.
I mean that because we had this first meeting online, we can use some of that money for the next one, which could help people, for example, that need to reach a place like yesterday by taking a taxi, for example, and make things a little bit easier. Or is it too expensive anyway? I don't know. Sandra is a little bit dubious about that. I don't know.
Allora, may I say, I don't know if other people have the same problem. My problem with the first meeting was it was too short notice, so I could not manage to free my calendar of that many days, because it is impossible to reach Foggia from here and be on time for a meeting. So I should have 4 days apart. Eleni say the same. So for me, being Vieste won't solve the problem, because still I have to fly to Bari, and from Bari I have then to go to Vieste in Samao, and I just Google very fast. And I'm from Puglia, so I know that we have problem with transportation.
Okay.
It's not well connected with the train, but I didn't check that. So the problem won't be solved for me. Will be always like a train, and then so
Okay.
the same as coming to Foggia in principle. So then I prefer to come to Foggia, or I don't know if you can host, because of this problem, your meeting in Bari, for instance. Because as an international, we sometimes, as a EDTU, because Maastricht is difficult to be
Still
reached.
seems to be a problem, for example, for Eleni, who said that she needs 15 hours to get from Cyprus to Bari.
Yeah.
So even if we host the meeting in Bali, it would be quite a challenge for her to attend it. So it seems like it's a little bit hard for Puglia as a venue in general. What about the second option, which was meant to be at the University of Oulu in Finland? Have you checked? Have any of you checked flights and way of getting there from your place?
No.
Okay.
What can I interrupt a second? Because I know that the European Commission will never bother if a meeting is hosted in Brussels, for instance. So that is a jolly location. How are you with Brussels? That is just a country. We are not from there. It's just because the European Commission is there. How is Cyprus, Brussels?
It's usually a lot of, for us, because we're on island, it takes a lot of time to get anywhere. We need connecting flights, etc. And it really depends on where else we're meeting. So if we're, say, we go to Bari, but then we need to go and take another bus for another 2 to 3 hours, that extends the distance. So major hubs are easier to get to. That's what I'm trying to say. And Brussels is
understand. Why would it take you 15 hours to get from Cyprus to Bari?
I did a very quick search, and initially had like 11 hours of travel, and then the time that you need to.
Because there is no direct flight.
There are no direct flights to. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
But for us, there are no direct flights to. I mean, we have to go to Athens or Vienna or Frankfurt and then to the other place.
Oh, okay, I see. So
Rome or something, yeah.
Have you had a chance to check if there is any direct flight to Finland?
Oh, sorry. So I don't want to, present difficulties for the whole group. There are no direct flights to Finland either. So if it's Helsinki, it may take us like 7 hours of flight to get there, plus the other hours. If it's further up north, I guess, then it depends on where it is, on how many hours. So it may come to the same. But I would, like to ask if we can just take that a little bit into account, and then if you give me enough time, I will search for the options.
Yes, definitely. And just keep in mind that we will probably try a blended solution anyway, because there might be people that for a reason or another cannot attend the meeting. So if you find yourself unable for other commitments or other things, we will probably try to have the blended option in the room where we're going to have the meeting. So there is probably going to be a computer with webcam, so some people can attend online. Alessandra?
Yeah, got a question.
Just because you mentioned Athens, and because we mentioned also the possibility of sending some workshop for our project, consider, just came in my mind, we could also use the venue of the conference, which we are already organizing everything, to have a partner meeting there. But we need to know as soon as possible to make the planning of the conference accordingly. So and the conference could be a location for the meetings if you think it's feasible. This will be in month, I don't know the number, but October will be not November, but a month earlier. Depends how you count. You said month 7, so I don't know if it was supposed to be October or November, the next meeting.
The next meeting would be about, I think the suggestion was September.
Sorry. Okay, so it's late. Yeah, nothing. I thought it was November.
But let me just check very quickly on the Gantt chart when you propose actually to happen. So that's okay. So after 2, 4, actually the second meeting was meant to happen in after 12 months from the first meeting. So I don't know why the suggestion was made to meet in September so early. Because according to the Gantt chart, which I'm going to share with you now, to see. So we have the kickoff meeting in Foggia at month 1. And then I can see that the second meeting was meant to be at month 12. And then the third meeting.
That will be December then.
But yeah, starting from May, the second meeting should happen in November, I think. I mean, we don't have to be, I believe, that strict. If it's going to be October, we think that October is going to be best, probably. We have a range of months, but definitely, I don't think maybe September would be a little bit too early if the second meeting was meant to happen at month 12.
I think, Salvo, if I may just suggest, if we look at the milestones and what's going to be achieved in the next months, maybe we can structure the next meeting around those.
That's not a bad idea, actually, to see first how we get on with our tasks, and then decide when it's going to be best to have a proper face-to-face meeting.
Yeah, and
also considering that we will be having other meetings online first.
For the online meetings, may I just suggest that I find it increasingly difficult to just sit on a chair for so many hours in addition to all the other meetings that we have. I think that's another advantage of having a face-to-face meeting, because you can get up, stand up, talk, etc.
Stand up, get up.
What we need to do is, if we're going to have any more online meetings, like intermediate meetings, they should be very short meetings, like an hour, 2 hours at most.
Yeah.
And they should be like, kind of workshop/meetings where we can discuss things, do a little bit of work on how to achieve the things, the objectives that we have. These kind of meetings, like the one that we have today, they got to be face-to-face. We can't spend the whole day in front of a computer screen. It's tiring. We can't.
So just to say, Salvo, it is 38 past the time that we're supposed to finish, so we're a bit over. Should we put that as an action point for deciding the next meeting and some possibilities of locations?
We will have a clearer idea of when and where to do it after we actually engage in the work a bit. So yes, we are a little bit over with the time, but considering that initially we were actually thinking to finish at 4 o'clock Italian time, we still have the chance. I know we're all very tired now. If we want to spend about 10-15 minutes just to have a bit of mingling time, to get to know each other a little bit more informally without talking about the project, whoever wants to stay, you're more than welcome. But I know that you're all very busy, so don't feel pressured. If you have to go to another meeting or you have other things to do, it's absolutely fine. But for all the other people that are happy to stay another 10 minutes and have just an informal chat, I'll be here. I don't know if Saika, you can be here as well.
I cannot stay, guys, but I will look forward to read the minutes or the recording for this part. So I take advantage to say goodbye to everybody, and it was really nice.
When the next meeting? Are we going to decide it later or?
Yeah, we'll leave it for another time. Yeah.
So are you going to suggest the date for the next meeting later?
Yes, we're not going to decide today. Yeah.
Okay.
Catch up to you soon.
Bye,
Bye.
Alessandra. Very nice.
Bye.
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 Right. Oh, okay. That was intense.
Yeah.
It's tiring to do it online. It's really tiring.
So we don't set kind of like a monthly meetings or kind of systematic meetings, or do we decide the meeting like time to time?
That was something that we had not foreseen at the beginning, so we will probably decide in due course. I mean, probably we will have a chat with the University of Foggia first, with the PI, and decide whether it's the case to organize some regular meetings, like one meeting every month, or something like that. But again, if we're going to do them, it's going to be no more than a month or two, because yeah, we can't sustain meetings like this all the time.
I think to me it's quite it's better to have a already scheduled meeting so that I can empty the slot.
We'll have a chat. Me and Saika will have a chat with the University of Foggia, and we will contact you all as soon as possible, as soon as we reach a decision. But in the meantime, we will set up Basecamp, and if you want to suggest, like, I would prefer the meetings to be once a month or once every 2 months. Like, we can take your suggestions into account when we have the conversation with Foggia. Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Great. So, can't wait to go outside.
I think it's a nice day. Everyone should get like a bit of a walk or something now.
Nice walk today. I have a dog, so I need to take her out as well. I'm sure my husband has already done it this morning, so she'll be okay for another couple of hours. But yeah, I need to have a walk in the park. I don't know if you have a park close to your house.
I'm by the sea, so I can walk by the sea.
Oh, so nice.
I love to have a house by the sea. I love that. I think next meeting should be in Cyprus.
Should be in Cyprus, I think.
In Cyprus,
yeah, that would be very nice.
all day, which is what happens, I guess, inside the house in meetings.
Yeah, and also like if we have a face-to-face meeting in October or November, I highly recommend not to come to Finland. It's just darkness. It's nothing to fun.
Yeah, it's
nothing to be fun.
You can all come to Cyprus if you want.
Yeah, that
I
would
don't know
be
how
amazing.
easy it would be for you.
So, Azusa, you are from Japan originally, you said?
Yes, but I'm living in Oulu, so
quite a big change weather-wise, and
it is. Yes. Yeah, it's so hard to live like half a year winter, literally half a year. It's winter in Finland.
I do feel for you. Being Italian and moving to the north of England, it was a big shock for me. Like moving from 35 degrees in summer to about 15, 20 if you're lucky. It was really, really big change.
Yes.
It gets better.
Yes,
It
definitely.
does get better.
Yeah, but I'd love to visit Foggia in future as well. I really love like Italian food, and I visited several cities in Italy.
Yeah.
So that would be very nice also.
That would be a lovely thing to do. We would also love to visit Foggia. Me and Saika have been talking about it.
Yeah, I always say I want to go to Italy with an Italian, so you get the real tour.
Is there any possibility to have the meeting anywhere else in Italy? That would be more accessible by plane.
Like you said, Rome was a central hub, Eleni. Is that?
Because I would go to Athens or Vienna or somewhere else and then get to Rome. I think there are many flights getting there.
Juicy has got to go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Nice to see you
Take it.
today.
Bye, Juicy.
Yeah, I will have to go soon as well.
Yeah, me too.
I don't
Yeah.
want to constrain you too much, but I think it's important to look at the, if it takes a whole day to get to the meeting and you have a 1-day meeting, then that's an issue as well.
Yeah, no, I think I've made notes of everything, Eleni. So we will keep it. We'll have a discussion and still taking everyone's account of what works, what's best for everyone as much as we can. We'll try to take that into account.
Yeah, and as I said in the chat, I think that I can look at other solutions like lower cost airlines seem to be flying to different places or closer to Bari. I have to know when, because you need to look at their schedule if they're still flying, say in November or something.
Yeah.
But as long as we have enough time to prepare and look for this.
Yeah.
I'm sure we will have plenty of time for the next meeting.
Yes.
It was this one that we really need to kick off with things, but next meeting we will have plenty of time to organize.
Yes. Sorry, just for your information, in Finland, like we have a holiday from like kind of middle of June or end of June until the end of July. So maybe it's different from your countries, I guess. So we might not able to join the meeting if the meeting is scheduled during that time.
Right. So does it mean the university is closed between that time?
Most of us are taking holiday, so university is open but literally closed.
Yeah, it's like ours. August is usually a month where it's open, but people take leave. So
I think Northern Europe is taking holiday 1 month earlier because of the sunshine.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well, it was lovely seeing you all. I have to go. So
Nice to see you.
Really nice to see you.
Keep in touch.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
You too. I'm gonna leave now as well, but really nice to meet you all, and hopefully we will be in touch soon, me and Salvo.
Yeah.
Salvo, I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for attending this meeting.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.